All right, welcome back. We're going to continue reviewing today. We're going to go into 6.2 and using the inverse trig function, sine, cosine, tangent, okay? We're going to have to solve some equations. So beginning of 6.2, we started solving equations over intervals, okay? So if I asked you to solve 3 tan theta minus the square root of 3 equals 0 over the interval of 0 degrees to 360 degrees. Okay, some questions I have gotten are, how do we know if it wants it in degrees or radians? Okay, how do we know that? The interval tells us. If I put 0, 2 pi, they would want that answer in radians, okay? 0 degrees to 360 is degrees. That's what they want the answer in, okay? This bracket says I want it to can equal 0. This parentheses says cannot equal. Why am I writing out equal? Cannot equal 360 degrees. Okay? 0 and 360 degrees should be the exact same spot. They just want that one answer. Okay? So, what would we do first with our equation? Okay, so now we have an equation. What do we do to solve? Really, they're asking you to solve for theta. Okay? So, first thing we have to solve is tan theta. I want tan theta by itself. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to erase this line I've drawn under it. Pretend. Okay, but that's the equation that I want to solve. So I need to add the square root of 3 to both sides. Okay, so now I have 3 tan theta equals the square root of 3. To get tan theta by itself, I'm going to divide by 3. So I have tan theta equals the square root of 3 over 3. Okay? If you don't want to draw triangles, it's okay. You have a calculator. Woo, put it on this side. So to get theta by itself, theta equals, and it will be the inverse tan of this number, the square root of 3 over 3. Okay, so I can plug that in my calculator. So it's second tan, and I hit the square root of 3. Make sure you go out of that. Over 3. Oops, I didn't do divided by. Divided by 3. Okay, that's what it should look like in your calculator. And it tells you, in degrees, it tells me it's a 30-degree angle. What does that 30 degrees tell me? My calculator is very handy. Okay, it tells me, I'm going to draw different colors. It tells me that I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And then I'm going to draw my numbers. 1, 2, square root of 3. So is tan 30 equal to 1 divided by the square root of 3, which rationalized is the square root of 3 over 3. So this 30 degrees is my reference angle. Okay, once you have your reference angle, triangle or calculator gives it to you, okay, every time. The issue with your calculator, it only gives you one answer. That's right. Then I'm going to look at my graph every time. So first thing, solve for tan. Find your reference angle, okay. This is your second step. Third step is draw the coordinates, okay. So first, solve for your theta, really. Tan theta over theta. Second, find the reference angle. Third, you're putting it in a quadrant. Okay, so 30 degrees. Is this positive? Yes. So where is tangent positive? I'm looking in the first quadrant, yeah, and the third quadrant. My reference angle is 30 degrees in both of them. You can look at your plate. That's a great thing to look at, okay? Just know they're here. Here's the first theta. It's 30 degrees. So theta equals 30 degrees. Your calculator will give you one answer. it generally will never give you 2. Okay? What is this theta? If you looked at your plate, you see, you're right, it's 210 degrees. We're done. Okay? You really have 3 steps. Solve, reference angle, and then quadrant. Really quadrants, which quadrants is whatever you have, positive or negative. Okay? Do we need to do another one like that? Yes, let's do it. Maybe one that you've had before, maybe not. Okay. Oh, I don't want to do too nice of one. We'll do this. How about cosine theta plus 2 equals 3? What's our first step? We're solving. Okay, what if I even give you 0 to 2 pi? Can you do that? Yes. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides, right? So we have a cosine theta equals 1. Where does cosine theta equal 1? I can say theta equals cosine negative 1 of 1. So if you want to pull up your calculator, it's second cosine of 1. And it gives me 0 degrees. Okay, where is that in radians? 0 radians. That one wasn't too hard. This one did not end in a triangle. Okay, I'm at 0. I'm going to look at the graph. Okay, there's my first one at 0. It's at 1. Now you have to remember, when again is it at 1? Okay, you have to be able to come back to the graph. Okay, in this case, it's 2 pi. Okay, can 2 pi be in your answers? 0 and 2 pi. They're both equal to 1. No, it doesn't want it to equal it, so it's 0. Theta equals 0 radians. You have one answer. Sometimes that may happen, and it's okay. Let's do another one where we might have to factor. Okay? Factor or solve a different way. Let's see about cosine theta times cotangent theta equals negative cosine theta. We're going to do over the interval of, let's do, I like degrees. I think degrees are easier. And so I was kind of giving you some more in degrees. How are we going to solve theta equals? I have no numbers, nothing to subtract, nothing to add, but I still don't have it equal to 0. Most every time we want something equal to 0. Okay? So could I add cosine theta to both sides to have a 0 over here? Yes, please do. Plus cosine theta. So over here, what do we get? We have a cosine theta times cotangent theta plus cosine theta equals 0. Okay? You have 2 terms. So you have a term in each one that's common. Can you factor it out? Yes. So if I factor out a cosine theta, parentheses, what am I left with? Cotangent theta. Well, if I factor cosine theta, factor it out, it really divided cosine theta divided by cosine theta, and that should be 1. Okay? Now, anytime you have 2 pieces multiplied together, you can set them both equal to 0. So when does cosine theta equal 0? Okay? And I kind of was doing this on my paper to say there's 2 different things going on. And what does cotangent theta plus 1 equal 0? There's 2 problems that we need to solve now. Okay? The first one over here, cosine theta equals 0. Well, my theta will simply equal cosine negative 1 of 0. Okay? When I pull up my calculator, second cosine of 0 it's going to give me 90 degrees. Okay? 90 degrees is my answer, right? Should I look back at the graph I just drew? Remember, 1 between 0 and 360, how many times is this 0? Actually, 2. It just gave me 90 degrees. Okay? My calculator just gave me 90. Theta equals 90 degrees. But is there another answer? Yes, you have to figure it out. Okay? Pi over 2, pi, which is 180. What's this one? If you're looking at your plate, you can see. Still use your plate. It's okay. It's 270. So this section has 2 answers. Let's go over to the other one. See what we can do with the other problem. So here I still have to subtract 1 from both sides. Okay? So cotangent theta equals -1. Okay? But I don't have cotangent in my calculator, right? So find the reciprocal function, which in this case would be tangent theta. So cotangent change to tangent, I'm simply taking the reciprocal, flipping it, okay? What's the reciprocal of -1? It's -1, okay? So here I can say theta equals tan -1 of -1. Plugging that in my calculator. Okay? Second tan of -1 gives me -45 degrees. What did my calculator give me? A reference angle, correct? So I could now draw a triangle. And we know this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, where the opposite is 1 and the adjacent is 1. Okay? Next, what about the quadrant? What quadrant is tan or cotangent negative in? Yeah, it's in quadrant 2 and 4. So it gave me this -45 degrees that's right there. -45 degrees is not in my interval. Okay? So I need to know, I can look at my plate, probably the easiest place to go, to see where are my thetas here. Okay? The -45, that should simply be 315 degrees if you're looking at your plate. And this theta over here, reference angle should be 135. Looking at your plate, it's pretty easy. Theta should be 135 or 315 degrees. This problem has 4 answers. Okay? Put that calculator away. We've answered this problem. Okay? There may be one that you have to factor. Okay? There may be one that you have to factor like a square, like a quadratic. Tan squared x plus tan x minus 2 equals 0. We're going to do over the interval from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. Okay? So, if we're solving, we're going to factor. If it helps you to factor x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0, do that. Go over to the side and factor. It's okay. So x times x is x squared, 2 times 1 is 2. We need a positive, so it has to be that. Okay? I don't know, like, not teaching you how to factor. Okay, we should already know that. But then how do we solve for x equals? We set them both equal to 0. So x equals -2 and x equals 1. Okay? If you want to do the quadratic on any of them, you get x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? Where a, b, and c are the numbers before the x's, the coefficients, and the constant. So the a is 1, the b is 1, and the c is -2. Okay? That is the quadratic formula. Whatever you'd need to do to solve x equals. Okay? I'm going to go back and factor here. I have tan x times tan x gives me tan x squared. My 2 and my 1 are going to stay. I need a positive 1 and a negative 1 to equal 0. Now I have tan x plus 2 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 2. So tan x equals -2. My other problem I'm doing is tan x minus 1 equals 0. So tan x would equal 1. Okay? I'm pulling my calculator back out. It's going over that side this time. So let's start right here with tan x equals -2. I need my x to equal tan -1 of -2. Here we go, -tan, tan -1, which is the inverse of -2. So it'll give me -63 degrees. Okay? Does that fall in my interval? No. So it's giving me a reference angle of -63.434. No, we're just going to put a 4 there. Okay? So what do we do with the reference angle? So we've solved for x, we found our reference angle. Now let's go to our quadrants. Where is tangent negative? Second quadrant and fourth quadrant. My reference angle is this 63.4 degrees. Okay? It didn't come out to that pretty 30, 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90. So we're going to actually have to do some math. It's not on our plate. So how do we find this angle, this theta, based on this? Remember, we always go to the x-axis. So we're going to look at 360 and 180. So here I'm going 360 minus 63.4. That's going to give me this theta. Then I'm going to do 180 to get this one up here. I'm going to say 180 minus 63.4. And it'll give me that one. So here we go. 360 minus 63.4. That theta, or x, is 296.6 degrees. Over here, 180 minus 63, so I went completely backwards. 63.4 equals 116.6 degrees. There are my two answers for that section. Okay, reference angles. Okay, the other piece, tan -1 of 1. Let's go ahead and pull it back up here. 10 shows up. Inverse tan of 1, 45 degrees. We're in a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Okay, my reference angle is 45 degrees. Which quadrant are we in? It's positive, right? So the first quadrant and the fourth quadrant. I can look at my plate on this piece to find my thetas. My first one is 45 degrees. My second one is, was it 225? Yeah. All right, we have all four answers. We can factor. All right. You probably need to practice some more. Go back over your problems. 25 and 26, where you've got to go from sine and cosecant or tangent and cotangent. I'm not going to give you one that has both of them in it on the same one. I might give you a cotangent or a secant, but they will not have both of them in there. Okay, like the number 25 and 26 from your homework from 6.2. Okay, look back over them. We'll Zoom tomorrow and Get ready for a quiz on Friday. Actually, be a whole chapter. We're not doing anything else in this chapter after this. All right.